Alarm bells are literally going off about the housing market. If you've been looking for a home this past year and waiting for a real estate crash or even a dip, I've got good news for you and I've got bad news for you. You already know that the gurus have been calling for a real estate crash for more than a year. They keep on telling us that the U.S. economy is a real mess and there's a housing bubble. All while, at the very same time, you're looking for a home and it's extremely frustrating. I get it. If you watch this video through the entire end, you will know what to do. And many people who are sitting on the sidelines are locked out from home ownership. We see home prices continue to rise week after week, month after month, and of course, year after year. I'm going to give you the truth. It may not be what you want to hear, but it's the truth. The information that you need to know about the real estate market and the housing market. Here's what you want to keep an eye on, and here's what you want to keep away from. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome aboard. If you have already subscribed, then you know already how this channel is packed with super helpful videos and information to help you avoid the pitfalls that are costly. So thumbs up if you're ready. Let's dive in. We have several really big problems. Commercial real estate will continue to go down, but the updated data is not about bubbles and potential decline. Rather, the updated data is about persistent housing shortage and limited growth in home ownership, especially among current renters. More and more homes need to be built. We need to consider policy changes to bring more supply to the market. The booming housing market has helped stave off economic collapse of 2020, but soaring prices are starting to worry policymakers in a fear that real estate market could lock out generations of buyers from homeownership. Now, home prices in January, typically, which is a slow month for the market, were up 14% over the same month of the previous year, while sales jumped 24% despite unemployment rates that were almost twice as high. Now, demand for existing homes is so strong that the average residence is on the market for just 3 weeks. Inventory is a record low, and we're seeing its steep drop since last year when this data was tracking. Now, what does this mean for housing market in 2021? It's a major threat that continues to freeze broad parts of the population out of the housing market, leaving millions of Americans in a less secure financial position, widening the wealth gap and forcing millennials who are already lagging in previous generations to building wealth and forming families and fall even further behind. The dream of homeownership is out of reach for many working people. Now, the last time the USA saw such inflation was back in the late 1970s. We also saw prices of everything increase. The easy money policies of the early 1970s also resulted in high inflation, and we're seeing the exact same thing happen today. Now, the question is, are you paying more for everything today compared to what you did last year? Everything seems to be much more costly than it was last year at this time, right? Health insurance, groceries, gas, electric, cars, and of course, homes are all costing us more every single month. Of course, wages are not increasing. So, there's a squeeze, but there is a limited window of opportunity before many will not be able to move forward with their new home plans. Most industry analysts believe the current boom is not a bubble, but we do believe that the current pace of home appreciation is unsustainable. My biggest concern, as prices continue to rise, many home buyers are getting locked out of homeownership. They will be locked out from affordability if they can't get into a house and lock in now. They will be sitting on the sidelines because they can't score a home. Now, you've seen this too, right? Houses are selling in a few hours of the listings. 10, 15 offers on a single house. It's like musical chairs. Somebody gets a home and somebody's still walking around looking and searching. Now, the median price for a home in San Jose, California was $1.4 million in the fourth quarter. That's a 12.4% surge from the same period a year earlier. But some of the largest increases have occurred outside most expensive cities. As our residents flee urban centers during the pandemic, prices like in Phoenix, for instance, 14.4% from the same time previous year. Now, Seattle saw gains of 13.6%, and this data is directly from the Case-Shiller Index. So, how is the housing market thriving during one of the biggest economic slumps in U.S. history? For one thing, the crisis is unusually lopsided. Many employees can work remotely and have for the most part, emerged unscathed because they actually are adding to their savings while reaping the benefits of higher stock prices. Now, we've seen historically low mortgage rates, and it's a result of the Federal Reserve's easy money policy in response to the crises. But this has nudged some of those buyers off the fence to buy a first home, or a second home, or even an investment property for that matter. Meanwhile, millennials, those are the ones that are born between the early 1980s and 1990, are reaching a prime age for buying their first homes. Regional data shows many of them have moved out of the big city. The big problem is there are simply not enough houses to meet this demand. Now, driving up prices of those houses that are for sale is potentially delaying the possibility to become a homeowner, which is a primary way America builds wealth. Now, another concern is the potential spike in mortgage rates as the economy recovers. Borrowers who are rushed to buy when rates were low, in some cases, paid above the asking price, given fierce competition for a limited supply of homes. With home prices rising, though, 3 times the rate of the economic growth, which means there's a point where you can outrun the number of traditional home buyers that are out there. And experts are now saying that even forbearance moratorium, when it ends, there's going to be such a demand for homes that any new inventory hitting the market is only going to even out the supply and demand issue. And we won't see lower prices. So there's a deficit of homes for sale versus the number of hopeful buyers. So the lack of available homes for sale is going to take a while for it to catch up. There are 3 trends we're seeing that are very interesting. Number 1, sellers who have held off on listing their homes during the pandemic have recently found out that selling their homes now, they're profiting more. Number 2, cash buyers are upgrading their purchase. We're seeing many who have profited from their home sale and are rolling those profits into the upgraded new homes and still have no mortgage. Number 3, another trend that continues no matter what the economy is, if it's good or if it's bad, baby boomers are continuing to retire and they're moving south. And now I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and our area has seen some major growth. My real estate team gets many phone calls and emails and texts, and we're absolutely love it. So if you've got questions, pick up the phone, give us a call. My team is here to help. So one question many are asking is there going to be a bust like 2008? Now, in 2008 and 7, it was called a mortgage crisis. That's because if you were walking or breathing, you could get a mortgage. Now, it's nothing like that today. You need to have steady income, steady credit, and a good history. The loans being made today are much stronger than they were back then. 71% of the originations in the fourth quarter of 2020 went to borrowers with credit scores above 760. Now, considering that's a very strong number, guys. 31% of the mortgages are going to credit-worthy borrowers in the third quarter in 2003. So compare that. Also, in the early 2000s, there was an overproduction of homes. Current housing production has been low for years, and it's been plagued by a shortage of skilled labor and, of course, rising costs in raw materials. Home builders expect construction of single-family homes and predict lumber prices to remain a major hurdle for them. The price of lumber is up about 180% since April. That's an increase that works out to about $24,000 per average home. Now, the data is from the National Home Builders Association, and they're seeing the supply and demand reach new lows. Meanwhile, the demand has spiked, with families rethinking what they want from our home during the pandemic. Has pushed everybody inside. Now, I honestly think that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this migration. Many have different priorities and will want to move once there's more clarity on the post-pandemic life and what it's going to look like. It's a reshuffling of priorities. If there isn't enough homes to meet that demand, the younger generation around the country won't be able to start building equity, which is in turn delaying other financial decisions. Despite making up over a third of the workforce, millennials, they own less than 6% of all the U.S. wealth, and that's according to the Federal Reserve data. The delays will have long-term social impacts. Even before the pandemic struck, more than 1 in 5 millennials lived with their parents. So that's up from 12% in 2001. And those that are behind on their mortgage payments during this pandemic could see barriers to home ownership increasing in the wake of this crisis. Now, renters who are behind on their payments face hits to their credit scores and potentially eviction once this crisis passes, making it more difficult to rent their next home or more expensive, and eventually if they buy one. Most analysts expect home prices to continue to increase this year. Even gradually increasing mortgage rates will tamper demand, but it could be years before supply of housing can meet up with this demand. If in the meantime, millions of people are finding themselves priced out of the real estate market. So now I've got a question for you. What's it like in your area? Tell me what your buyer story is. Are you still looking to buy in this crazy market? How about if you're selling? What are you seeing in your area? Please comment below, because I really want to know what's going on with you. Now, if you have questions, pick up the phone and give us a call. My team is here to help you answer the questions and help you. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I truly appreciate you. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you watching and commenting. So if you found any of this interesting or helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel here. If you're subscribed, I'll see you in the next video. If not, I hope you're having a great day. Take care, guys.